Ever dreamed of being a millionaire? But these days, being a millionaire isn't as rare as it used to be. How about finding one of the rarest animals in the world instead? Some creatures are so unique that people would pay huge amounts just to own them, or even just to see them. From an eel that lives 6,000 feet below the surface to a rare creature older than the Statue of Liberty, here are 15 animals that have rarely ever been seen. Number 15. Gulper eel. The gulper eel is also known as the pelican eel, and both of these names ought to tell you something about the way this eel looks. They have an enormous mouth, which looks like a pelican's beak, and this can help them to swallow prey much larger than themselves. The jaw makes up around 1/4 of the length of this eel alone, which is seriously one big jaw. This eel looks almost nothing like other eels, lacking the usual fins. It has a whip-like tail, which it uses to propel itself through the water. But beyond some basic physical characteristics, it's fair to say we don't know a whole lot about the pelican eel. Even though it lives in all the world's oceans, it does so at a depth of almost 10,000 feet in some cases. The only time we manage to see one is when we accidentally catch them while dredging the deep for anything we can find down there as part of commercial fishing. Even then, sightings are rare, and in fact, the first ever direct sighting of a gulper was only in 2018 near the island of Azores. So if you catch one, it might be worth its weight in gold. Number 14. Seneca white deer. The Seneca white deer are a ghostly presence on the former Seneca Army Depot in Seneca County, New York. In 1941, this 10,000-acre depot was created, and the perimeter fence surrounded a small herd of white deer. These are not albino deer, but they have the recessive genes for white fur. Isolation from the outside world has led to inbreeding, and so they do not reproduce as successfully as they would otherwise. However, the commander of the depot in the 1950s outlawed the shooting of these deer, and so in this protected environment, their numbers have in fact increased to around 700. Even though there are so few of them, it is still the largest herd of white deer in the world, with about half of the herd having the all-white coats. The depot closed, however, and the deer lost their military-grade protection. Since then, they have become threatened by hunters and predators like coyotes. Plans were made for amusement parks and industrial units as well as a prison to be built on the land, but fortunately, a local businessman purchased a plot and turned it into a reserve for these rare and beautiful creatures. Here's to you, Earl Martin of Seneca Ironworks. Thanks for saving these deer. Number 13. Red wolves. There's white wolves, there's gray wolves, there's the Minnesota timber wolves, but have you ever heard of red wolves? Are they not just really big foxes? Well, it's not too surprising if you've never heard of them, since they are one of the rarest mammals on the planet. They have lived for tens of thousands of years in the southeastern United States. These red-coated animals are considered to be kind of halfway between the gray wolf and the smaller coyote. They are of particular importance to the Cherokee, and they are known as Waya. The Cherokee held these wolves in great reverence, believing them to be an important spiritual animal, and so they avoided killing them, also likely aware of their importance in a balanced ecosystem. But by the 1930s, the wolf was under serious threat due to culls, immense changes to the natural landscape, and increased proximity to coyotes, which led to the red wolves being hybridized out of existence. By the late 1980s, action had begun to try and save the red wolf, but counts showed that there were maybe as few as 17 left. More were released into protected lands, and by 2007, they had reached as many as 113 in the wild. But by 2016, that number had been cut in half as people began killing them with guns, and their decline continues, with the species likely to go extinct due to hunting with guns anytime soon. Number 12. Saola. The Saola is an incredible species of animal, being one of the most recently discovered large mammals. This creature, also known as the Asian unicorn due to its incredible rarity, was first photographed only in 1999. This species was not even known to science before 1992 when remains were first discovered of an animal that could not be identified as anything then known to science. The Saola lives in Vietnam and Laos and is related to cattle, goats, and antelope. It has long, pointed horns, which almost touch at the ends, adding further to the reputation of the Saola as a form of unicorn. In fact, some people still do not believe this animal really exists. In reality, it does exist but is considered critically endangered. Not long after it was discovered, poachers set out to kill as many as possible of these animals, hoping to make money from their skins. Also, habitat destruction in the region is rife as the governments of both countries are keen to remove forest and replace it with nice, shiny industrial zones and mining. Just fantastic. The Saola might have disappeared before we even knew it was there, but at least we got to see it a few times and learn a little about this mysterious unicorn. Number 11. Black-spotted cuscus. This marsupial is the second largest of the cuscus family and is known as the black-spotted cuscus. It lives on the northern parts of the island of New Guinea, and they have a pretty amazing set of colors with white, black, and brown patterns. They grow to 2 feet long and are fantastic at moving between the branches of trees, being a primarily arboreal or tree-dwelling species. We don't really know a lot about the lives of the black-spotted cuscus since they are so rare, it is hard to study them. But it is believed that this species is omnivorous. Back in the 1980s, they were considered rare, but this status has become progressively worse as they were classified as critically endangered in 2010. The main cause is human disruption. Mass immigration into New Guinea by Japanese people has led to rapid deforestation and land development as the previously balanced societies are taken apart and new industrial projects are launched. Plans have been developed for increased logging and palm oil production, which, when they go ahead, will likely lead to the extinction of this species. But your shampoo will cost 4 cents less at Walmart, so hey, another treat is hunting, and the cuscus is hunted for meat as well as for its fur, which is considered fashionable for capes and hats. Papua New Guinea certainly has no conservation programs, although some parts of Indonesia are accepting the cuscus for conservation. Number 10. Black-footed ferret. The black-footed ferret is also known as the American polecat and the prairie dog hunter. It is native to central North America, and fossil records show it has been present in the region for almost 1 million years. They were once popular all across the Midwest, but by the end of the 1970s, it was declared extinct in the wild. Its main prey, the prairie dog, also suffered massive population decline, which only made things worse for the ferrets, and then they fell victim to a form of plague. However, a few of the ferrets had been taken from the wild and bred in captivity, and a captive breeding program led to small reintroductions in 8 U.S. states, Canada, and Mexico between 1991 and 2009. It is believed that careful management and protection has led to more than 1,000 individuals now living in the wild. But that's not the end of the struggle. Ranchers and the U.S. Forest Service have fought back and are hoping to make both the ferrets and prairie dogs extinct, and so have been poisoning those put back into the wild. Also, as with all captive breeding programs, reproductive problems can occur from inbreeding, and fertility rates are low. This little ferret is fighting for survival, and there are at least a few human beings out there willing to support them. Now it's time for today's topic. In a groundbreaking discovery, a National Geographic exploration team has uncovered what they believe to be an 800-year-old creature hiding deep within a remote cave system in Southeast Asia. The team, initially on a mission to document rare cave ecosystems, stumbled upon a hidden pool of turquoise water tucked away in the darkest recesses of the cave. What they found lurking beneath the surface left them stunned. The creature, resembling a mix between a fish and a reptile, had an elongated body and translucent skin that seemed to pierce through the darkness. Measuring nearly 3 feet in length, it moved with an eerie grace, as if it had adapted perfectly to its isolated, lightless environment. Initial analysis suggests the creature may be a living fossil, a species that has remained unchanged for centuries, surviving in complete isolation. The team captured footage and samples for further study, but the discovery has already sparked global intrigue. How has this creature survived undetected for so long? Could there be more ancient species hiding in the depths of the earth? While scientists work to unravel its secrets, the 800-year-old cave dweller has become a symbol of the mysteries still waiting to be uncovered in our world. Number 9. Greater bamboo lemur. The greater bamboo lemur is a critically endangered primate from the island of Madagascar. This lemur is the biggest bamboo lemur, and they can weigh up to 5 pounds. A little like pandas, they only eat bamboo, and they even eat the parts of the bamboo which contain cyanide, which would be enough to kill most creatures. Some special mechanism in their digestive system, which we do not yet understand, allows them to metabolize this deadly poison with no ill effects. In spite of this superpower immunity to poison, these lemurs have a hard time staying alive. Part of the reason is their diet. With nothing else on the menu, they are starving to death due to humans illegally cutting down all the bamboo on the island. About 500 individuals remain, but this number is decreasing. Slingshot hunting, slash-and-burn farming, mining, logging, and other destructive human behaviors have destroyed the home of this creature, and being a fairly primitive species, they are not well able to adapt to radically new environments. Don't expect one to start happily living in your trash can or crawl space. These guys need bamboo forests or nothing. Well, another incredibly rare species, and I hope you all have seen how great it would be if we could do something to save some of these amazing creatures and save them from extinction. What would you do to save these animals from extinction? Number 8. Pangolin. The pangolin is one of nature's cutest and strangest animals. They've been in the news lately as one of the main suspects that we've tried to pin the blame for the coronavirus on. They are the only animal in the world to be covered from head to toe in keratin scales. There are 8 species of pangolin, 4 in Africa and 4 in Asia. They tend to live in tropical forests, savanna, and dry woodlands. They are nocturnal and expert termite hunters with great senses of smell and hearing. A single pangolin can eat up to 70 million termites in 1 year. Unfortunately, Their specialized diet and habitat requirements make them particularly vulnerable to habitat destruction caused by deforestation and agricultural expansion. Pangolins are also one of the most trafficked animals in the world, with their scales and meat in high demand on the black market. Conservationists have been working tirelessly to combat illegal poaching, but the scale of the trade is staggering, with an estimated 1 million pangolins taken from the wild in the past decade. In addition to their scales, pangolin meat is considered a delicacy in some cultures, further driving their exploitation. Efforts to breed pangolins in captivity have faced significant challenges, as they are highly sensitive to stress and require a very specific diet. Public awareness campaigns have been launched to educate people about the importance of pangolins in ecosystems, as they help control insect populations. International organizations like the IUCN and CITES have listed all pangolin species as critically endangered, but enforcement of anti-poaching laws remains inconsistent. Despite these challenges, there is hope, as more countries are beginning to recognize the need to protect these unique creatures. They also have an amazing defense mechanism, rolling up into a hard, scaly ball that even lions cannot bite through. Humans, however, can just pick them up in this state, and that is often what happens, especially in China, where pangolin scales are used in all kinds of wacky medicine, and even the Chinese government recommends their use in medicine. All of which means that with 2 billion Chinese wanting to eat them for healthy blood, the pangolins stand no chance of survival and are already highly endangered. Thankfully, the more sensible country of Taiwan has a long-standing pangolin protection and preservation program, which has led to the highest population density of pangolin in the world. Good work, Taiwan. Number 7. Sumatran rhinoceros. The Sumatran rhinoceros is the smallest and the hairiest rhino species. These cute little tanks are less than half the size of their African cousins and are also kind of fluffy. Well, kind of is the key word there. They still weigh in at up to 2,200 pounds, so if you thought you might be able to pick one up and pet it, think again. But before you could do that, you would have to find one, and that is no easy task. They used to be everywhere, inhabiting rainforests, swamps, and cloud forests in India, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Laos, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, and China. But now, there are only tiny remaining populations in Borneo and Sumatra. These solitary animals are believed to number less than 30 in the wild. Habitat destruction has also played a significant role in their decline, as logging and agricultural expansion have decimated the forests they depend on for survival. Palm oil plantations, in particular, have replaced vast areas of their natural habitat, leaving them with little room to roam. Sumatran rhinos are known to be shy and elusive, making it even harder for conservationists to track and protect them. They are also unique among rhinos for their vocalizations, using a range of sounds to communicate, including whistles, moans, and grunts. Conservationists have been working on breeding programs, but the species' low reproductive rate and difficulty breeding in captivity have made progress slow. Efforts to create protected reserves and wildlife corridors have shown some promise, but funding and enforcement remain significant challenges. Poaching continues to be a major threat, as the high value of their horns makes them a target for illegal hunters. Despite these obstacles, there is still hope, as dedicated conservationists and organizations are fighting to save the species from extinction. The main reason for their population decline is humans illegally poaching them, and black market prices of $30,000 per kilo for its horn are putting it under serious threat. Once again, the horn is used in some bizarre and totally ineffectual Chinese medicine, believed to counteract leprosy, diarrhea, and tuberculosis, all of which are easily avoidable and treatable with conventional medicine. Unfortunately, this rhino does very poorly in captivity, so once the last 30 are gone, then that's it, goodbye forever. Number 6. Giant otter. Who doesn't love an otter? It's basically a big, wet puppy. But in fact, they are not related to dogs and are a kind of mustelid, which is the weasel family, and they are the biggest of the whole family, reaching lengths of 5 feet. They live in north-central South America, being found in the Pantanal, which is the world's largest wetland area, and in the Amazon River, except they are not being found very often because the species is seriously endangered. Back in the 1950s and 60s, its pelt, which has a velvety texture, became very popular, and so excessive hunting and poaching caused a massive decline in numbers. Giant otters are now listed as endangered, with fewer than 5,000 individuals estimated to remain in the wild. Habitat destruction caused by deforestation and mining has further reduced their range, leaving them with fewer safe places to live and hunt. Mercury contamination, a byproduct of illegal gold mining, has poisoned the fish they rely on for food, leading to health issues and reduced reproduction rates. These otters are known for their loud, distinctive vocalizations, which they use to communicate within their family groups, often consisting of up to 10 members. They are highly territorial and will fiercely defend their territory from other otters and even larger predators. Conservation efforts, including the establishment of protected areas and stricter regulations on mining, have been implemented, but enforcement remains a challenge in remote regions. Ecotourism has also played a role in raising awareness about the plight of giant otters, as visitors to the Amazon and Pantanal are often captivated by their playful and social behavior. Despite these efforts, the species remains at risk, and continued action is needed to ensure their survival. Just as it seemed that the fashion for rare animal fur had become kind of a socially unacceptable thing, governments in the region figured out it was super cheap and easy to dump highly toxic heavy metals such as mercury into the Amazon and the wetlands, causing widespread devastation and slow, painful deaths for many animals, especially the giant otters. These otters, unlike other weasels, are highly social. They are also amazing hunters, eating mainly fish but also able to hunt anacondas and caimans. Number 5. White-rumped vulture. Up until the 1980s, the white-rumped vulture was considered to be the most abundant large bird of prey in the world. But in 2000, the bird was listed by the IUCN Red List, the global inventory of threatened species, as critically endangered. What was once a population of several million is now believed to be less than 10,000 individuals. What caused this massive destruction? Well, we did. The white-rumped vulture is native to Asia. It was common throughout India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Nepal. Like most vultures, it is a scavenger and will feed on the rotting carcasses of other animals, kind of like that friend that will eat food that you dropped on the floor, managing to get it in their mouth before they've even finished shouting, "You gonna eat that?" And if that food happened to be a cow that's been dead for a week and left out in the sun, kind of like that. The primary culprit behind their decline is a drug called diclofenac, an anti-inflammatory medication widely used in livestock. When vultures consume the carcasses of animals treated with diclofenac, it causes kidney failure and death within days. The rapid decline of vultures has had devastating ecological consequences, as they play a crucial role in cleaning up animal remains and preventing the spread of diseases. Without vultures, feral dogs and rats have taken over as the primary scavengers, leading to an increase in rabies and other zoonotic diseases in affected regions. Conservationists have been working to ban the use of diclofenac in livestock, and some countries, like India, have introduced safer alternatives such as meloxicam. Breeding programs and vulture-safe zones have also been established to help protect the remaining populations. However, the recovery has been slow, as vultures reproduce at a low rate, with females laying only one egg per year. Public awareness campaigns have been launched to educate people about the importance of vultures and the dangers of using harmful drugs in livestock. Anyway, the human practice of filling cows with anti-inflammatory drugs for farming reasons has caused this devastation, since the drugs in question are highly toxic and destroy the vultures who eat the cow meat. They also give these drugs to people, so yeah, you might want to take it easy on those unless you want to wind up like the poor white-rumped vulture. Number 4. Northern hairy-nosed wombat. The northern hairy-nosed wombat, that's really its name, and it's maybe a little cuter than it sounds. It is one of the 3 species of wombat and also one of the rarest animals in the world. This critically endangered critter once roamed far and wide across the Australian states of Victoria, New South Wales, and Queensland. But these days, they live in a tiny habitat in Epping Forest, the range of which is about 1 square mile. The total population is barely 100, with only 30 breeding females left. One of the biggest challenges for the northern hairy-nosed wombat is competition for food, as invasive species like cattle and rabbits have overgrazed their habitat. Droughts and climate change have also made it harder for these wombats to find the grasses and roots they rely on for sustenance. Conservationists have been working to restore their habitat by planting native vegetation and ensuring water sources are available during dry seasons. Another major threat comes from dingoes, which are natural predators of the wombat, making the protective fences around their habitat essential for their survival. Researchers have also been using tracking collars and motion sensor cameras to monitor the wombats and gather data on their behavior and movements. This information has been crucial in understanding their needs and improving conservation strategy. In recent years, a second population of northern hairy-nosed wombats has been established in a protected area in Queensland to reduce the risk of extinction from a single catastrophic event. Public awareness campaigns have also helped raise funds and support for their conservation, with many Australians rallying to save this unique species. Wombats are powerfully built creatures with large heads and short, powerful legs. They also like to dig burrows and so have strong claws. They are covered in soft gray fur, and as the name will tell you, this species even has a furry nose. They can reach 3 feet in length, and the females can be quite a bit larger than the males. Their eyesight is poor, but they have amazing smell and can sniff their way through the dark, being nocturnal animals. Attempts are being made in Australia to protect this species, especially in trying to build protective fences, which help to keep predators out since this is the primary threat. Numbers are very slowly beginning to increase, so with the help of Australians, we might just see these guys in the future. Number 3. The hooded grebe. In Argentina, if you are very lucky as a bird watcher, you might just spot the incredibly rare hooded grebe. These birds are black and white in color and grow to over a foot in length. They live on isolated lakes in the most remote parts of Patagonia, a region of southern Argentina. In winter, they fly to the coast, but every year fewer and fewer make the journey, and since 2012, they have been considered as critically endangered. Conservationists have been working to protect the hooded grebe by establishing protected areas and monitoring their breeding sites. One of the most successful initiatives has been the creation of floating rafts on the lakes, which provide safe nesting platforms away from predators. Volunteers and researchers have also been patrolling the lakes to remove mink and other invasive species, but the task is daunting due to the remoteness of the region. The hooded grebe is also known for its elaborate courtship dance, a behavior that has fascinated ornithologists and highlighted the importance of preserving their unique cultural displays. Unfortunately, their population is so small that genetic diversity is becoming a concern, making them more vulnerable to disease and environmental changes. Efforts to raise awareness about the hooded grebe have included documentaries and educational campaigns, but funding for conservation remains limited. The grebe's plight has also drawn attention to the broader issue of invasive species in Patagonia, which threaten not only the grebe but many other native animals. Without immediate action, experts warn that the hooded grebe could become extinct within the next few decades. They are extremely vulnerable to predation by the American mink, which is an invasive species first introduced in 2011. Within 1 year, the mink had almost completely destroyed the population of hooded grebes. This breed of mink is the kind of predator which carries out surplus killing, meaning it will kill what it needs for food and then just keep going for the fun of it, killing more than it could ever eat. Other species also prey upon the grebe, and recent volcanic activity has not helped matters, with heavy ashfall causing further losses for the grebe. Climate change has also radically altered the lakes where these ducks live, and pressure is rising on the Argentine government to act and save the grebes before it's too late. Number 2. Hainan gibbon. The Hainan gibbon is the world's rarest primate, with fewer than 30 individuals remaining. All 28 known Hainan gibbons live in a tiny part of China on the island of Hainan. They are gravely threatened with extinction, and yet, once upon a time, they were widespread throughout all of China. Back in the 17th century, records show that these gibbons were abundant. By the 1950s, numbers had fallen to 2,000 known individuals, and now, in 2020, we have less than 30. Conservationists have been working tirelessly to protect the remaining gibbons, focusing on reforestation efforts to expand their habitat. The gibbons rely heavily on tall, mature trees for their survival, as they rarely descend to the ground and depend on the forest canopy for food and shelter. Their diet consists mainly of fruits, leaves, and flowers, making them vital seed dispersers for the ecosystem. However, the fragmented state of their habitat has made it difficult for the two families to interact, further limiting their chances of genetic diversity and reproduction. Researchers have also noted that the gibbons are highly territorial, which complicates efforts to relocate them to safer areas. In recent years, camera traps and drones have been used to monitor the gibbons, providing valuable data on their behavior and movements. Despite these efforts, the lack of public awareness about their plight has hindered fundraising and support for large-scale conservation programs. Some experts believe that without immediate intervention, such as creating wildlife corridors or captive breeding programs, the Hainan gibbon could disappear within the next decade. Habitat destruction, as usual, is a major problem for these gibbons, and illegal paper pulp plantation growing has destroyed at least 1/4 of their habitat in recent times, but possibly more. Logging is another major source of pressure on these animals. Of the 28 still clinging on, there are two families, one with 11 members and the other with 7, while 4 of these gibbons are living alone. It is said one single storm or epidemic of disease will finish off this species completely. Things don't look good for the gibbons, as 95% of the natural environment on the island of Hainan has already been destroyed, and plans are in place to remove the final 5%. Number 1. Peruvian spider monkey. The Peruvian spider monkey is also known as the black-faced black spider monkey. Just in case you were wondering what color it is, it's black. They live in Peru, of course, but also in Brazil and Bolivia. It's a pretty large monkey, measuring around 2 feet in length. Although as recently as 2003, this species was considered of least concern, it's a huge increase in deforestation that the 21st century has brought to South America that has seen this species lose more than 50% of its numbers. These monkeys are highly social animals, living in groups of up to 30 individuals, although they often split into smaller subgroups to forage for food. Their diet consists mainly of fruits, seeds, and leaves, making them important seed dispersers for the rainforest ecosystem. The destruction of their habitat not only threatens their survival but also disrupts the delicate balance of the forest, as fewer monkeys mean fewer seeds are spread. Peruvian spider monkeys are also known for their prehensile tails, which act as a fifth limb, allowing them to swing effortlessly through the treetops. This tail is so strong and flexible that it can support their entire body weight, making it an essential tool for their arboreal lifestyle. Unfortunately, their reliance on the forest canopy makes them particularly vulnerable to deforestation, as they struggle to adapt to fragmented habitats. Conservationists have noted that the loss of these monkeys could have a cascading effect on the biodiversity of the region, further emphasizing the urgency of protecting their habitat. Efforts to raise awareness about their plight have included educational campaigns and ecotourism initiatives, but much more needs to be done to ensure their survival. Pollution, illegal mining, and poaching, as well as habitat loss, have pushed these monkeys to the edge of extinction, with predictions suggesting they will likely be gone by 2050. Reintroductions and protected reserves have begun, but only on a small scale so far. These monkeys are especially known for their incredible agility, comparable only to the Asian gibbon. Like other spider monkeys, they do not have a thumb, even though most other monkey species do. They can live up to 20 years when they are left in peace from the actions of human beings. Which animal on our list would you be the saddest to see disappear from the planet? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to check out our other cool videos showing up on the screen right now. See you next time.